Any franchise that has any sort of popularity is bound to have theories spawn eventually, ranging from various topics including its vast settings, characters, storylines, etc. I'm not going to get too deep into all of that. While the Mario franchise is no stranger to theories, I'd argue the largest amount of them revolve around the potential connections of characters and settings due to its vast worlds and characters. One example is people believing that Genos is connected to Rosalina, which I wholeheartedly disagree with, but I'm not going to cover that today, possibly never. Today's video revolves around the potential connection theory involving Mona from the WarioWare series and the identity of her unnamed and mostly unshown parents, with those potential parents being Luigi and Daisy. Now, anyone hearing that for the first time may be shocked and may consider the possibility given the potential similarities in appearance, but looking at it as someone with a decent amount of knowledge on the franchise, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. You saw the title. I think this theory is downright stupid. Now that may seem harsh, but my brain's first reaction to hearing the name of this theory makes me immediately think of all the ways it can be debunked, both factually and speculatively. Now you may be asking, if that's the way you think, then why even cover the theory? A few reasons. 1, I think the concept is somewhat interesting. 2, this makes for an interesting discussion. Shit, I use interesting twice. I need a thesaurus. And 3, I can also use this to address some other beliefs and theories people have about WarioWare. To cover this theory fully, I'm going to divide this video into a few points to cover the main backbones holding it together. We'll start by covering the main initiating event this theory was born from. In WarioWare Get It Together, the cinematic for Mona's stage sees her leaving home, saying goodbye to her pets and telling them to behave themselves. While she's gone, her pets make quick work of the house and destroy her room. Upon returning, Mona is shocked to see the state her room is in as a result of her pets playing. After a display of what could come, she makes them clean her room and all is well, only for the process to repeat itself the next day. Now you don't really need to remember any of that, but the important thing here is that we gotta look at Mona's house from the outside and, more importantly, her room. In it, we can see items that reference her previous jobs, references to Rhythm Haven, a pet fish we didn't know about, and various pictures of her friends, pets, and family. Yes, above her bed we can see 2 pictures of her parents, one from when she was a baby, and secondly, a younger picture of her with both of her parents fully in frame. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where the basis of the theory was born. Upon first glance, you can notice some key features that would lead you to believe that this is Luigi and Daisy. The man has a mustache and a hairstyle that could pass for Luigi's without his cap on, and he's wearing green. As for the woman, she's wearing an orange dress, or could that be yellow, I don't know, and has hair similar to Daisy. I think I'm done admiring art for the time being. Now let me just take my average enjoyer glasses off and take a hammer to the very foundation of this theory by pointing out a detail nobody has acknowledged: their heights. Allow me to point this out before I continue. Not every Mario game has accurate size scaling for its characters. That's a topic for another day. A few examples I'll give are Super Mario Galaxy, where Bowser Jr. is towering over Peach, Sparks of Hope, where Bowser's in-game model is nearly Peach's height, and Wonder. Oh my god, Wonder. What isn't wrong with this? There's barely a height difference between Mario and Luigi. Luigi is taller than both Peach and Daisy. Bowser Jr. is bigger than Mario again, and it was the same way in the new series. I'm getting sick of looking at this shit. For now, I'll mostly be using official artwork by Nintendo and cutscenes with more accurate size scaling. Most of the time when you see these two together, Daisy has a pretty noticeable height advantage over Luigi, even without heels on. This can be seen as far back as NES Open, but this reference might be a little outdated due to Daisy's redesign, so let's look some more. In Mario Golf Toadstool Tour cutscenes, we get a pretty decent shot of the two next to each other. However, this isn't a good example either, as Daisy and Peach by extension are too tall compared to newer artwork. And the most common artwork featuring the current Mario crew, Daisy is right next to Luigi, with the top of his cap resting between the top of her hair and her crown. In some artwork from Mario Golf World Tour, we see the two near each other again with similar heights, despite Luigi being pushed back a bit. Finally, in the opening scene to Mario Party Island Tour, we see them in the background with a similar height difference, but you can notice a bit of a bigger difference due to her being in her dress, wearing heels, though it's not much. Going back to the picture of Mona's parents, there's a significant size difference between them, and her mother is the shorter one. And on the topic of details no one points out, what's the deal with her father's mustache? It's separated into two parts. Luigi's is connected under his nose, and then there's his nose. In the other image, we can see him from the side and see his nose, and it's, for a lack of better terms, normal. And where is his mustache in this picture? As for her mother, she also has a pretty questionable design difference. In the main picture, her hair stops at the base of her neck. Daisy's goes down past her shoulders. And where is her crown? It doesn't matter what she's doing, she almost never has her crown off. The only real exceptions are her costumes in Mario Kart Tour and Dr. Mario World. The foundation seems to be very flawed so far. But let's play devil's advocate for a minute and chalk this all up to being in the future. Ugh. So what other evidence do people have to back this theory up? The next point I'll cover is Mona's house. The idea here is that Mona's house resembles one of the possible ending mansions in Luigi's mansion, specifically the rank B one, and yeah, I can see somewhat of a resemblance, but I hardly think this means anything. For one, this could just be a coincidence. More importantly though, this isn't even the mansion Luigi ends up with. At the start of Dark Moon, we can see that the mansion Luigi wound up getting better resembles the rank F mansion. I'll say it now, when it comes to games like this with multiple endings, the best one isn't always the canon one, especially in the Mario franchise. The next point is that Mona happens to own a pizzeria, representing her presumed Italian roots. Once again, this is likely a coincidence. There's not much else to say here. Finally, there's the fact that Mona's father is confirmed to be a painter. As for how this relates to Luigi, he has a painter outfit in both Mario Kart Live Home Circuit and Tour. I don't think alternate costumes matter given how a lot of Mario characters also have costumes of various professions outside the realm of their own, especially their doctor ones, cause even Miyamoto said you should never let Mario operate on you. I do have something else to say about the painter idea, but I'll save that for later. Now, let's put the Mario images away for a second and stop thinking about the games and models. I want you to think about the name of this theory again. Read it out loud or in your head. Mona's parents are Luigi and Daisy. Luigi, the twin brother to the very person her employer, friend, and the person she aspires to be like hates more than anyone else in the world, and Daisy, the princess of Sarasa Land. We'll get back to Luigi in a moment, but let's really focus in on that. Daisy is the princess of Sarasa Land. If she were to have a child, that child would be next in line to be ruler. So then why is Mona in a completely different part of the world away from her homeland? How do you explain that? There is no answer. You can't. Hell, the same goes for Daisy. Why isn't she in her kingdom that she rules? I know that the four kingdoms that make it up each have their own ruler, but that's no excuse. There's nothing in the history of WarioWare that even so much as hints to the fact that Mona is secretly royalty. And then there's the Luigi side of things. Just like with Daisy, where Luigi has to be called into question. Why isn't Luigi in the Mushroom Kingdom, protecting the land that Bowser wants to conquer and its ruler, his friend and brother's lover, who he wants to kidnap and marry? You could say this ties into the future possibility, but that would leave Bowser's fate unknown. Not that that's important, but still wouldn't provide a clear answer as to why he moved and not to the kingdom he should now be the king of. I'll leave this topic alone for now and move on. As we all know, as I said before, Luigi is Mario's twin brother, therefore making Mario her uncle. Wario's hatred for Mario is not unknown amongst the WarioWare crew. Proof of this can be seen in Cricket's profile on the WarioWare Inc. official website. In a section titled Low Key Boast, he claims that no one jumps better than him, not even the guy in the M hat that Wario is always griping about, which is a rather bold claim, I'll say. Then there's also the fact that Mario has shown up in microgames Wario himself canonically made based on the stage's descriptions, though I'll be honest, I don't know if that detail really matters, so I'll let you be the judge of that. Wario constantly talks bad about the person who is presumably her uncle, someone who her father greatly values. Do you honestly believe that she would tolerate such slander and stick around to hear it? Mona may respect Wario and put up with most of his antics because she aspires to be like him, but even she has drawn the line on a few occasions. She stopped working for him in DIY because he wouldn't pay her. Keeping Wario in mind, how is the fact that she would be related to someone he hates have never come up at some point? That's enough speculation for now. Now we need to cover a point I brought up a few times already, the possibility that the WarioWare series takes place in the future. You could use this to argue the different careers Luigi and Daisy have given the time to pursue other aspirations, but before that, we need to know what can be used to prove that the series is set in the future. For that, I have some more bulletin points that generalize each point, those being Wario's lack of aging, 9V Nintendo Classics, Diamond City's inhabitants, and Diamond City itself. I'll start with the Wario argument first. One of the main arguing points for his lack of age is the fact that he's in a new outfit and is never shown in his classic overalls. This ties back into the various outfits point I brought up earlier. This really doesn't matter, especially when you consider that this is a different series from the series and the role he was introduced in. Wario was designed to be anti-Mario and his rival, which is made all the more apparent by his design mirroring and contrasting Mario. In the sports games, they make this point very clear. You can look to Waluigi and to some extent Wa Peach for more examples of this. That and the fact that his name is derived from the Japanese word warui, meaning bad. Besides that, I think the answer is clear. Wario was designed to be Mario's rival, so why would he retain aspects of that role while starring in a completely different role with his own group of friends in a series that isolates him from the rest of the Mario cast? It wouldn't make sense for him to retain the anti-Mario look in a series where that isn't his purpose and isn't needed. Next are 9V microgames, which are all based on Nintendo properties. Of all the points here, this is one I can somewhat understand. Looking at this with the future in mind could imply that all the adventures that Mario and Wario have went on happened so long ago in the past that their stories are being retold through video games, hence why they're called Nintendo Classics. This can be further backed up by the fact that multiple Mario games both in and out of universe have been shown to us in ways alternate to how they actually happened. Super Mario Bros. 3 is a stage play, but Super Mario World confirmed the game events did happen with the sunken ghost ship. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is Rosalina retelling the story as, well, a story to the Lumas. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions presents itself as a movie, and so on and so forth. While this is certainly one way to interpret it, there are others. The main point I'm going to make here is that Nintendo constantly references its games in other games, regardless of whether or not it would make sense to do so. For example, in Superstar Saga, Genos explains the rules to the Star Stash Smash minigame, despite him leaving the doll's body at the end of Super Mario RPG. Another example comes from the same game in Woohoo University, where there's a room that contains blocks from various Mario games. Now, I don't think the fact that the blocks being here themselves are the problem. It's the fact that when hit, they don't give you any items, rather they state which game they're from. Now, let's really focus on the Nintendo part for a minute. Nintendo itself is a real company in the Mario universe. Diddy Kong has literally worn their logo on his hat since Country 2. And then there's the fact that it's been constantly stated that 9V owns every piece of Nintendo hardware and software ever made. Even if Nintendo were the ones responsible for the Mario and Wario games in universe, I would consider it strange that Wario has never directly mentioned video game versions of his past exploits, given how much he likes to boast about himself. You could counter this by saying he has mentioned some of his own games before throughout the WarioWare websites and manuals, but those are all of their respective games, not any of his adventure games. Another counter you can point to is 9Volt's profile from the Mega Microgames manual, where he says, "I think Nintendo games are the greatest, so you can imagine my surprise when I found out that Wario lives in that I live in his city." This could be taken for how straightforward it is, but once again, a major problem is that Wario has never mentioned these games he has with Nintendo. I think another way this can be interpreted is as somewhat of a fourth wall break, as Wario and other WarioWare members do sometimes, not against the in-universe Nintendo, but the Nintendo that owns and created them in real life. I was going to mention the floating timeline when it comes to the game console releases, but I don't think this point really means much and isn't that important. Going from the most understandable point, we have what I consider the dumbest point, that being the inhabitants of Diamond City. From what I've seen, this is a minor point not commonly brought up, but I'll cover it anyway. It primarily revolves around the futuristic aspects of Dr. Krygor and aliens like Orbuline to prove that the series is set in the future. Now, I find this stupid for a handful of reasons, but I'll keep it brief. Dr. Krygor's tech isn't an arguing point given that there are many people in the Mario universe who have developed what you could call advanced technology. Bowser Jr., Fawful, Professor Egad. The same goes for various places such as the Hooniversity, Twilight City, hell, the Wooded Kingdom Sky Garden, alongside the various galaxies in Galaxy 1 and 2. Advanced technology cannot be used to indicate the advancements made with time akin to the real world, and there's no greater proof for this than Orbuline. For those of you who don't know, Orbuline is over 2,000 years old, and he spent the last 1,000 of those years on Earth. At this point, I don't think I even need to mention the Shrooms. I feel like I may be over-explaining some of these points, but these are just the thoughts that come to my head when I hear this stuff. The final point is about the advancement of Diamond City itself. Now, some of you may be wondering what that means. Diamond City looks no different than your average human city, so why is this considered proof? You see, for those actually knowledgeable on WarioWare, grab onto something because the Diamond City I'm referring to isn't the one from the main series. It's the race course in the Mario Kart arcade games. First off, this is a racing course, and just like some other racing courses, it's filled with references to characters that have nothing to do with Diamond City. I don't understand how someone could even look at this and see Diamond City. It does have references to a few places such as the castle, Club Sugar, and Diamond TV, to name a few. But then there's the one thing that doesn't make sense. Why is Professor Egad everywhere in this course? Egad has nothing to do with Diamond City, so why is he here? The city already has a scientist who's just as smart as him, debatably smarter, Dr. Krygor, so he doesn't need to be here. Why use Diamond City of all places to represent Egad? Who made this course? Because I have a few choice words for you.
I just want to talk to him.
Vague implications of violence aside, I think I've covered almost everything I needed to when it comes to this theory. Keyword being almost. Remember how I said I was gonna get back to the Luigi being a painter point? See, here's the thing. You wanna know what's funny? Nintendo themselves have already debunked this theory. And you know what the funniest thing about that is? They debunked this theory before the first game even came out. Back in 2003, Nintendo created the Made in Wario website to help with the game's promotion, Made in Wario being the series' Japanese name. Some of you may have never heard of this, and that wouldn't be surprising given the website was never translated into English. I plan on covering this website in full in the future, but for now, we're gonna focus on the diary entries. Every member of WarioWare, or rather Wario Company, its Japanese name, has diary entries from February 28th to March 20th, before taking a 3-week break and continuing from April 15th to April 25th. There's a reason for the break, but that's a discussion for another day. Today we're going to focus on the entries of Mona, Wario, and Jimmy T. We're going to start with Mona and quickly cover her mother. On March 17th, Mona talks about her mother for the first time. Her diary says, "My mom is a supermodel. She's always jetting around the world for photo shoots and fashion shows, so she's rarely at home. but today, after a long time, she came back. She'll be leaving again tomorrow, so we had lots of conversations. It seems she reads this diary every day. It's a bit embarrassing, but it makes me happy. That's then followed up on the next day. Starting today, I'll be saying goodbye to my mom for a while. As a parting gift, she gave me a worm scarf. I'm really happy about it, but since it's starting to get warmer, I may have to wait until next winter to use it. Now, why is this important? To answer that, we need to look at Jimmy T's entry for the 17. Mona-chan was walking with someone who looks like a beautiful model, yo. She resembled Mona-chan a bit, so maybe she's an older sister. Yeah, I hope she introduces me to her. On the next day, Jimmy asked Mona about her older sister, only to be told that she's the only child. But that's not important. Jimmy, upon seeing her mother for the first time, believes she resembled Mona enough to view her as a possible relative, which I'll just leave that up to you to decide. Alright, finally we're back to Mona's father. For this, we're going back in time to March 15th. Mona's diary says, "My dad is an artist. He's going to exhibit a sculpture at an upcoming art show and is looking for a model. He asked if I knew any men with a wonderful nose, so I immediately recommended Wario. I wonder if he'll agree to be a model." So, Mona recommended Wario as a possible model for her father. She states his name, and her father has no reaction to it at all. Let's move on to Wario's entry on the 16th. "A strange old man suddenly said to me, 'Be a model for me.' Gahahaha. Being a handsome and cool popular guy is quite troublesome. Well, he said it would only take a quick photo, so I agreed. As a modeling fee, he gave me a clump of stones shaped like poop. What kind of nerve did this old man have giving such a vulgar thing to refined me? But I liked it, so I'll add it to my treasure collection." So Wario was approached by Mona's father. They saw each other, and the only major comment Wario has about him is describing him as an old man. Now, I don't think this should be taken that seriously, seeing how Wario talks about people. Finally, let's look at Mona's entry for the 16th. "It seems like today my dad met Wario. He was praising that nose, both in color and shape, is fantastic. Hearing such compliments, I couldn't help but feel happy too. I'm looking forward to see what kind of artwork will come out of this. Need I say more?" Mona's father had never seen nor heard of Wario before his daughter proposed him as a model, in the same way Wario has never seen nor heard of Mona's father. Some of you may call me crazy for bashing this simple theory so badly, to which I say yes I am. But it did allow me to give you a taste of what's to come when I cover the WarioWare websites. Seriously though, I just want to encourage some of you to think beyond the surface level. You can shoot holes in a lot of thinly woven ideas that pop up in your community just like this with any decent amount of knowledge of your franchise. With that said, I'm done raining on people parades for today. If you enjoy, please share your thoughts in the comment sections below and subscribe to keep up to date with my videos. Until next time, see ya.